See, Dr. Mania, there is a good question here. We know that Adam and Eve, both of them fell in sin, and both of them had a sinful nature. The question is why God did choose Mary, or you can say Eve, to be incarnate from her, or to have a flesh from her, although she was a sinful one. Why God did choose a woman? Because both men and women fell in sin and had sinful nature. Your mic.
Yes, this is a good question. Why would he choose Mary? Well, to get to the root of the matter, I don't know why God has done what he has done in his infinite wisdom. So anytime we ask questions about why God did it this way or why didn't he do it that way, well, we don't really honestly know why God chooses to do the things that he chooses to do and how he chooses to do them. But we do know that God is infinite in his wisdom. So in God's infinite wisdom, this is how he chose to do this. In God's infinite wisdom, he chose to use his creation that he loves in order to restore his creation that has rebelled. And so with Adam and Eve, you see an interesting development that takes place. First, you have Adam, who is created in a very miraculous, unique way. He is created from the dust of the ground, and the Lord breathes life into his nostrils. So Adam is the only one who is brought into existence in this way. Eve, then, is made in a unique, miraculous way. She is taken from the rib of Adam, and only Eve is brought into this world in this way. So Adam doesn't have an earthly father or an earthly mother. Eve doesn't have an earthly father or an earthly mother, if you will. What Eve has is Eve is taken from Adam, so that Eve is now flesh of his flesh and bone of his bone. That this ties together this whole understanding of the two becoming one. So God takes the one and makes two, and he unites them together in marriage to be one again. So that Adam and Eve are united together as one. And in that unity, they bring forth life. Because it is Adam who is alone, and the Lord says it is not good for Adam to be alone. Well, it doesn't mean that it's sinful for Adam to be alone, because this is before sin ever took place. The Lord institutes marriage before there's sin. So marriage itself doesn't bring the forgiveness of sins. Marriage was instituted by God before sin even was brought into this creation. But what happens with Adam and Eve is the two become one. They become one flesh. It's not good for the man to be alone, and so he is given the gift of Eve. Because with Eve, it is good, meaning there is life. Eve brings life. See, the man by himself does not bring life. The woman is the one who bears the seed and brings forth life. So that you have in the beginning, Adam and Eve are created in the image of God. And we see this just right in the bat of Genesis 1 and 2, and then in 3, what takes place in Genesis chapter 3 is the fall into sin, and this is where the Lord gives the promise. He gives the promise right away that the man and the woman have fallen into sin. And the promise of the Messiah is first given in Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, in which the Lord says, I will put enmity between you and the woman. Okay, he's talking to the serpent, this devil, Satan. And he says, in between your offspring and her offspring. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. So right away with Eve, we have this promise that the seed of the woman will bruise the head of the seed of the serpent. Okay? And so you have this understanding of a seed of a woman right in Genesis chapter 3, the promise of the coming one, the one who is to come, who will defeat the devil, is the seed of the woman. And so right away in this passage in Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, we already have the understanding of a virgin birth. Because everybody knows in biological terms that the seed or the sperm comes from the man. But in this promise, there is no man involved. It's a seed of the woman. It's going to be something unique, something miraculous, just like what was unique and miraculous in the bringing forth of Adam from the dirt and the bringing forth of Eve from the rib. So that there's going to be something miraculous in this second Adam, the one who is perfect, the one who has no sin. He will be born of a virgin. And so there will be no natural conception between a man and a woman. Because in the conception itself, sin is communicated from one generation to the next. So that when we are conceived by a father and a mother coming together, uniting, they bring forth a sinful child by nature, a child who's conceived and born in sin. And so what's so unique about the coming Messiah and the promise is he will not be conceived or born in sin. He will be conceived and born in a miraculous way without sin. So Eve will be used as the mother of all living, just as her name is, that she's the one who will bring forth life, and it's good that when she's brought to Adam, she brings forth life, so that Mary will bring forth life by being the bearer of the Christ. So that in a very unique, miraculous way, Jesus will be born of the Virgin Mary without sin, without a human father, so that the original sin is not communicated to him in the natural way in which we are born. And so all this is very unique, very specific to how the Lord desires to bring about salvation. But to get to the question of why he chose it to do it this way, I don't know why, but I do know that the Lord is wise and his ways are always the best ways.